All right, everybody, and welcome to Comic Con at Home. If you're joining us on this panel, this digital panel, we are going to be talking about Kodansha and comiXology originals. Then, now, tomorrow. Um, thing. What's it called? Before we get into some of the nitty gritty about some of the things that we're going to be talking about, wanted to introduce the panelists. Misaki, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Misaki Kido. I am on Kodansha YouTube nowadays a lot, making a lot of shows talking about manga. But when the convention seasons are coming back, I'm actually excited to go back as an event director to deliver some of the manga topics to you at the show near you. So
Cool. And my name is Ivan Salazar. I'm the senior marketing director over at Kodansha, and that just means I help promote all the mangas that you see come out from Kodansha, whether it's through SNS or newsletters or press releases. I help out just spread the word about all of our cool books, which is part of what we're going to be talking about today.
yeah,
Um, so let's go on with the thing.
I'm ready.
Yeah, comiXology originals, how it started. Now,
Yeah.
I see some, I'm not seeing anybody because we're all in digital space, but I imagine some people are wondering what is even a comiXology originals? Well, if you've heard of Netflix originals, if you've heard of Amazon originals, the concept is basically the same thing, where we partnered up with comiXology to, bring back some like really cool manga that had not been in print for a while. And the reason this was part of the originals program is because comiXology at the time, which I was a part of, we were starting an initiative of like wanting to bring some original comics, wanted to create some new works, but we knew that manga is such a big thing, and there was tons of stories that existed out there and had been published in the past that either may not have gotten the attention that they deserved, or were just like not even available to anybody currently. So the idea then became uh, us at comiXology are going to partner with folks at Kodansha because they're super cool and had a lot of cool properties, and we're going to bring some of those things back. So in 2017, uh, comiXology and Kodansha teamed up to bring back Battle Angel Alita, which was like super great timing because
I
the
remember
movie had
that.
just been announced.
Yeah.
And so getting to bring back a series that at that point was like again out for like a decade, and bringing it back digitally for people to be able to access it, be able to read it and enjoy it, well in time for the movie to come out. We continued on this relationship because it was so successful. We brought back Beck, which was like one of my favorite mangas, like when I was in college, and it was just kind of like almost like a battle of the bands manga. Like instead
Yeah.
of a battle manga, it's like battle of the bands manga, which is like a very cool, just like music centered, indie music centered, and because we wanted to also spotlight Harold Sakuishi, which is the creator of Beck, we wanted to bring back, we wanted to bring to the states his latest work, which was Seven Shakespeare's. And for some of these series, we're gonna talk a little bit more about it. So if you can't remember the names or what these are about, don't worry, we're gonna go into it later. Um, then we followed that up with Initial D in 2019, which again, like a mega hit of a series, and then somehow just wasn't in print anymore. Yeah, it's about car drifting and racing, and it's pretty bonkers, but very cool.
Really good stuff.
Yeah. And again, like we're looking to see what else was available in the Kodansha library. Initial D, I knew was a big hit, and so we're like, let's get this, let's bring it back into the states, and because we know that there's a fan base. And we want to service the people who wanted to see all the story, because like this was also a series that was never completed
That's
in the
right.
states, and
It's the
so to have that ability to bring these stories complete in English for the first time, that was kind of like the ethos of like comiXology originals partnering with uh partnering with Kodansha. We
a
then
lot
like
of
follow, oh sorry, go ahead,
sorry,
Misaki.
a lot of these titles are like kind of epic saga,
Mm,
so it's
mm.
actually really amazing to be able to binge read.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things, is that like when we would release some of these series, we would just drop them all at once if we could. There's some stuff that required localization or like additional volumes that had to be like either fixed or formatted or whatever because they hadn't been brought to the States, so that would take a little bit longer. But any chance we got to like really drop all the series so that anybody could just like sit down and read it from start to finish, like that was the goal. And
Feels great.
yeah, yeah, no, and like especially I don't know, like I feel like manga has mastered the cliffhanger because it's like weekly chapters and you gotta come back,
What's
get those
gonna
readers,
happen
what's gonna
next?
happen, yeah. And so like even when you have a whole volume, there's still like a cliffhanger at the end of that, so then you want
Right.
to read the next one. And so yeah,
Keeps you
that's
going.
keeps you going. So like if you have all of the volumes available, then like you just burn through like entire series.
Yeah, I
um
mean, when the series is usually very long, like frustration as reader is that
yes.
it turns out to be like a little pricey,
Mm,
but
mm.
because when these series are available as comiXology originals, then it's a different story. Like you can commit yourself to reading the whole series without like spending like money on every single volume, which is
Yeah,
like to me that's groundbreaking.
yeah, yeah. And it's like that's a super great point. Like one of the reasons we're talking about like the comics original stuff is because um when it came out, we wanted to make sure that the most amount of people could read it, read these stories. And so for the originals program, we made sure that they could be available on comiXology Unlimited, on Kindle Unlimited, and if you have a Prime account, like an Amazon Prime account, you'd be able to read these books for free. You
Yes.
could still buy them digitally, but if you just wanted to try them out or just read the stories on their own, it's completely free as part of these different services. Again, just trying to give the most access to these stories where coming from a time when you couldn't find them in print, no matter how hard you tried, this was the sort of opposite. Like, let's give people all the opportunities to read these stories and check them out. So yeah, we wanted to make it easy, and in a lot of cases, it's free.
Yeah, entire canon.
Yeah, entire canon.
So great.
Um, yeah, and so like in 2019, we realized, hey, like we'd love to bring back some shoujo series too, because that's also like a demographic that uh, is really hungry for some of these classic stories that are out of print. So let's bring back some like cool and slightly spicy shoujo stories, which
Hot
is
and spicy.
yeah, which is why we focused on like Mars and You're My Pet.
Nice.
And then what's called then we went to a slightly different route. Chip Mosier, who's the head of comiXology Originals,
Hey,
was
Chip.
yeah was a big fan of this series called Drops of God, which is like completely wine focused. Like, and
Let
I
me guess, it's Chip a whiner.
yeah, he's a wine.
Yeah.
He's definitely like a wine aficionado. Like he's just like loves French wines and is like, oh, the terroir of this wine is so good.
Gets into
Uh,
it.
yeah, gets into it. And the Drops of God ended up being that. It's a kind of like almost like not your usual battle manga, which is kind of often in or often it can exist in manga. Like, you can have a manga about cooking, you can have a manga about bread, you can have a manga about golf,
Oh.
and somehow there are always like battles involved or confrontations or like testing your skills in this specific
Of
area.
course, how to make
Yeah,
the story interesting.
yeah, exactly. So that's what like the Drops of God was. It was a kind of like battle manga about how much do you know wine, and Chip being a big fan of when it originally came out. This was one of those series that when it was published, I think something like 11 or 12 volumes were
Yeah,
released in the
very
States.
limited number of volumes
Yeah,
came out.
yeah, and the thing is, like this is a manga that in total, which is now like we've completely released all the volumes in English now, like just
Whoa.
recently, 44 volumes.
Wow.
So to have a series that's only 12 when it was released in the States, and then just like not having any word about like whether it's new volumes are coming out or whether it'll be ever be finished, um those are the kind of stories that comiXology Originals and Kodansha wanted to like complete, because it's like we knew there was a fan base, we knew they're good manga, so why not give them the opportunity to like come back fully. And then in 2020, like we continued that sort of trend with bringing back Shaman King, which again, shonen battle classic manga, like the one that like folks are super excited about. And with a new with a new anime coming out, like now is like a great time to like really dive into it, because again, like multiple volumes. And I think the series was also not completely translated at the end. Like I think, what was it? There like 2 volumes missing or something like
They
that.
have like alternate ending in the
Right.
last 3 volumes.
Right.
The
Right. Right. Right.
series.
Right. So like that, even though anyone could read a majority of the series or like in its original run, like even that story had something missing from like its original publication. So wanting to service the fans, wanting to give them the proper ending that like
The
was
creator
what the
intended.
creator wanted. Yeah, creator
Yeah.
intended. Like that was the sort of like role that Kodansha and comiXology took to like do this originals, to
Oh,
bring these stories back in that way.
super
Um,
awesome.
yeah, and crossing our fingers to do more for the future.
Oh,
But now that we've gotten a little bit of an overview about what comiXology Originals is, how Kodansha has teamed up with them to like really put out these manga. We wanted to do like a little bit of a deeper dive into each of the series.
sure.
Not all of them, just some of the ones that we thought you might be interested in. So let's jump
I
into
can't
it.
wait.
Yeah, how's it going?
How's it
So
going?
how's it going? Uh,
Oh,
so we're going into Battle Angel Alita, um,
it's my
a
favorite.
classic of the cyberpunk genre. At this point, I believe Misaki, you and I discussed that, like the Ghost in the Shell had been out, and as well as the movie, and so the idea of just general cyberpunk was starting to become more prevalent. But Battle Angel Alita also sort of fused a kind of like epic, almost like future fantasy, as well as battles, and like really made it something unique, which is why we wanted to start here for like our comiXology originals. So like talking like what are some things you enjoy about Battle Angel Alita?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite fond of this series because this is one of the first manga that I've read when I came into manga industry in the US, just to kind of beef up my knowledge on manga. I was once kind of looking into a library of manga to look for something that interests me, and
Mm.
there was like this set of manga that's glowing at the top shelf
Yeah.
and it says Ganmu, which means gun dream. And I was like, what a cool
Oh,
sounding
whoa.
manga. So I started to pick it up. I see these like first couple pages. I remember so much because it was so like vibrant in my mind. And so like I was completely drawn into this story. I think this artist is like a true master of, artwork. Like here, he's using a lot of like traditional mediums.
Hmm.
Like I think it's like paintbrush and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what he was working with when the original run was going. And then look how beautiful that is.
Yeah.
Just like you can tell from his drawing and then the story that he just puts in everything that he loves. Like he loves this main character, like, and
Hmm.
he loves this
Hmm.
worldview that is like this distilled apocalyptic future city.
Yeah.
He loves a good fights and
Yeah. Yeah.
battles,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
sci-fi setting and machinery. That's
And
another
machinery.
thing that
Yeah.
that Yukito Kishiro sensei, you just can't ignore the fact that he just like loves it, so
Yeah.
like it really comes through the art. So that's something that felt really different from just like a commercial artwork type of manga.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that felt like a really fresh to me. Look at that main character is like,
Yeah.
very sleek
Yeah.
at this.
So
I know.
cool.
At the
Yeah.
same time, like the action scenes, like even in the early volumes, are just
Hmm.
like you can imagine the actual moves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
if you're like,
it's like all the fights like are really amazing, and like you know what you see here, like we haven't shown you, like try not to do spoilers, but
a little bit
some
is
of
okay.
yeah, a little bit is okay, but some of the fight scenes are metal. Like,
Yeah.
sorry to curse, but
Beep.
yeah, beep. They're pretty metal. Like they're just like these insane like android people who have modified their bodies to the point where they're
Yes.
basically monsters. And then like the Alita, who is constantly like undermined, or like, oh, look at this little girl, she can't fight, and like,
Everybody looks like down on her because she
yeah,
looks like a girl.
yeah, and then just like constantly wrecking people. Like it's so cool. Like the fights are just like really neat, and like sometimes feel like one-sided until like a, you know, come from behind win and stuff like that. It's all like very exciting.
Yeah,
So
she's definitely like one of the strongest like fighters in
yeah,
like
yeah,
history of manga
yeah,
easily.
yeah.
Feels like the martial art movie vibes is there
Yeah,
also.
definitely, definitely. And Misaki, I know that recently we're able to get a cool video from Kishiro
Yeah.
Sensei.
Yeah, let's take a
Um,
look at that.
yeah.
So we got an opportunity to get some footage of the creator working in his workspace. This is a footage of him working in the space. And then some of the how to make manga tutorial that was narrated by the creator Yukito Kishiro.
Mm,
So this is a page from his current series, Battle Angel Alita Mars Chronicle. In this video, which actually launched this week, is that this is his kind of like analog work style. So you can see that
mm.
he's working with pen and ink right now. But as the tutorial series continues to go on, you can see him actually transition onto digital mediums too.
Oh,
And
very
I
cool.
just gotta say, like, he's just superb at both. Like, it doesn't matter if you give him a digital or analog tool, he's just amazing works. He does
Mm,
amazing
mm.
works with it. So I hope you look forward to the video series of Yukito Kishiro drawing manga. This is the first time showing you the sneak preview um, on this panel. This is him going into the type of pens he's using.
Yeah,
On the digital side, he talks about what kind of tools he uses on the tablets and stuff too. So he's very generous with sharing his manga drawing skills, and I actually respect him even more than before now after watching these footages.
very cool.
Yeah,
And
please check
yeah,
it out on the Kodansha US YouTube.
and like looking at this video, Misaki, like, do you know if Kishiro Sensei uses like a lot of assistance? Because I know that in manga, you know, everything's drawn black and white, so there's not necessarily like a colorist for letters and stuff like that, or as much as there is in U.S. comics. But is that something that Kishiro Sensei uses a lot, or is it mostly just him? Because like
Uh,
looking at this, like it feels like he's doing a lot of the stuff on his own.
Hands-on. He in this part of one of the videos he did mention about some of the work process that he does with collaboration
Mm, mm,
with
mm.
his assistants. But he was like, if I don't be careful, I tend to do them all.
Yeah,
That was the quote that was in there. So he's seems to be working with people, but then he has the ability to do them all. So that's
gotcha.
difficult
Yeah,
in
yeah,
its
yeah,
own way.
yeah,
I'd
yeah,
imagine.
yeah. Battle Angel Alita, very cool, and like, you know, again, part of the originals program, so you can read it for free right now. Technically, if you got Kindle Unlimited, comiXology Unlimited, or Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
You might hear that bit a lot. Sorry, I'm a salesperson. I got to do a song and dance.
Yes,
Uh,
please. But man,
uh,
if you haven't read Battle Angel Alita yet, you're lucky.
yeah,
Like you have some awesome masterpiece to read.
yeah, and it's 9 volumes. Like you know, when Misaki was talking about like certain series being epics, like we by that we mean like 30 volumes, 34 volumes,
Really long,
44
you mean?
volumes, really long series. Yeah. And this is like surprisingly like not that long of a series, but there are spin-offs like you were mentioning Mars
Mars
Chronicles,
Chronicle,
the one that
Last
trying to go,
Order,
yeah, Last Order.
yeah,
So there are other
side
stories in the
stories.
world But yeah, the original series is just like 9 volumes to get like
Yes.
in and out.
Yeah, it's the
Uh,
most classic, best classic ever.
yeah. So we're gonna move on to another of our series,
Yo,
Beck. This is the one that I
yes.
mentioned earlier, which is one of my favorites. Again, just like a kind of battle of the bands epic about you know a kid who doesn't have a lot going for him, and he just has this fateful meeting with this slightly older kid who came back from the U.S.
Oh,
And
sounds like a
and
bad boy.
yeah, is just a bad boy just looking to get a band together. This is Koyuki, the main character. Again, just like run of
Regular
the mill
guy.
kid. Yeah. I love. There's this in the next preview page. There's like, as you can tell, I'm not exactly firing on all pistons. It's
Oh,
just like poor dude. He's also suffering from like lack of self esteem, which gets reflected in the story, but once he meets with his this older character Ryusuke, and they get together to form a band, and then they encounter other people to bring the band together. It's like something happens where everybody ends up like leveling up in terms of what they can do, who they are, and kind of like who they want to be. So as much as it is a story about music, it's also a story about dreams, about friendship, and about goals. And that's kind of what ended up like hooking me, like in terms of reading this story, like seeing all of these characters, level up throughout the series. And also like all these instances in which you can see music, you don't hear any of it or have any reference for it. You just imagine it in your mind, but because of how well it's illustrated, you can really hear the music that they play. And that's kind of a neat magic that, like, again, I think manga is very good at. Partially because of the fact that there's so many onomatopoeia that exists in manga, but just like, yeah, seeing the sort of like intangible things like touch, taste, smell,
mm,
sound reflected in manga is so cool to see it when it's done well. And I think Beck does it really well for music and sound.
yeah, for sure. And like while you have this page on the slide, I love this scene. I just like this is one of my favorite scenes from the whole series of Beck. This is when the main character, who seems like average guy, started to really just show a little bit of sprout of his talent as like a singer.
Hmm.
And with the moon in the background, and moon is actually a continuous motif that appears throughout the book. It's kind of like talking about the cycle and how many days has gone through
Mm.
they have gone through. And I asked like the when I had the chance to meet the creator, Harold Sakuichi sensei, I asked him, what's up with the moon? Like I always see it in your
Yeah, in your
manga,
story and stuff.
like what is the meaning of it? And he just laughed and said, I just like the moon. Yeah, which made him so human. I was
That's
like, this
great.
guy is super cool,
That's
dude.
great.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing he mentioned that is in this slide, you can see the music scores
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in the background. And he said, in the this is from a really early part of the story. Um, he was like saying that I used to do that as like a way to kind of express that it's a scene where the character is doing something musical, but towards the end, like as the series progressed, I didn't have to do that anymore. There was so many
Mm.
different ways to make you feel like you're in the moment of playing the music, that I didn't have to use something like so obvious as like a
Yeah.
method to convey that feeling. So I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
that is super amazing.
Yeah.
And
That's totally true because I think like you start to get the cadence of when the band is actually playing,
mm,
and I think like one of the coolest scenes are these sort of like freeze frames where like the band is like really in a groove, or like the the main singer is just like off the air, like just like singing and stuff like that. And so like it's those freeze frames that you see from like concerts, like just like illustrated, and so that gives you the sense of how the music is coming at you. That like you then don't even need like the music lines and all the things like that, because like you already get the sense like, oh, this band's really rocking out right now, and I'm just like sort of experiencing it like one panel at a time.
Yeah, you totally like feel it too, you
Mm,
know.
mm, mm.
And I think it took it to a whole different level when the series became an anime. Because that's when the actual music was put onto it.
Right.
So we have something actually to listen to. And
Yeah.
I think the animation team did a good job of kind of coming up with a score that has a vibe of the band, or a
Hmm.
reference to the band that it was
Yeah.
like modeled off of to come up with the music. Again, when Sakuichi Sensei was over in the US, so many fans came up to say like, oh, like I used to read Beck and I watched the anime and I was like so moved by it during that time of my life. Like it really influenced me. So I think still to this day, people feel quite fond of that anime series, not just even as an anime, but something as like a music soundtrack to your that
Yeah.
certain time of your life.
Yeah, definitely. Beat Crusaders was the band.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, so
Yeah.
you're the one of those people.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yay! High
Yeah.
fives, air fives.
But yeah, no, it was that was really great when we could bring out Harold Sakuishi Sensei to like New York for New York Comic Con, and yeah, getting his insight on like creating this series and the kind of like infusing it with all the things that he loved and like was interested in, but like it's like music. I want to figure out how to convey the music and stuff like that. Like that's really cool. And I'm so glad that like there were a lot of fans that were just still very excited to meet Sakuichi Sensei, because like I mean like there are all these great stories and properties that we like love, but how often do you get to like meet the creator of a manga? It's fairly rare.
Mm.
So yeah, that having that opportunity for like fans and the creator to meet was like really neat and really cool. And
We
it,
should do
I
more.
know, right? Well, when we can come back to
Yes,
shows.
as soon as possible.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so like let's slip into the one that we talked about a little bit earlier. Wine aficionados. This one's for you.
Yay, Chip.
Drops of God.
Yes.
Um this manga is just kind of what like I mentioned about the idea of um somehow manga really digging into things like the extrasensory stuff, like outside of just what you can see, so it's like touch, taste, smell, sound. This one really does do something amazing in terms of like flavor, because like the idea around this manga is uh this dude, his dad, who is a famous wine critic, dies. He has this great like giant estate of not only money but like bottles of wine that are worth like millions and millions and millions. But he's not going to give it over to his kid. He's like, you got to earn it. You
Oh,
gotta you gotta go on this epic quest to find the 12 apostles, and then the legendary wine, the drops of God. So it's not exactly like a what was that uh heist movie with Nicolas Cage. It's not National Treasure. It's not like they're going into different places, breaking into getting expensive bottles of wine. It's the idea of identifying which bottles of wine are these 12 apostles and which ones the drops of God, by actually tasting the wine, being able to sort of like discern what are the notes or what are the things that actually make it like an apostle, and then translating that into, I know which wine this is. It's
oh.
this wine. And the way that like this manga conveys like these are kind of the battle moments of the manga. It's
How
like
much do you know?
exactly like, and then the way the creators Tadashi Agi and Shu Okimoto sensei, like the way they're able to translate these sort of things of like what does this taste like? What does this bring to my soul? Like, you know, how is my body reacting? How's my mind reacting? What is this making me think of? Like, this is such an interesting way to convey like something like taste without actually asking you to taste the wine, you know. Which like Misaki, I know that you don't drink, and like I don't drink
I'm
anymore.
very weak.
Yeah, yeah. I think that this is like, even if you're not into alcohol, I think because these stories are so personal and so like interesting in terms of how they translate something like taste to a general audience, like I think that that's what makes this kind of exciting.
Yeah,
um
that's what blew my mind about this series is like,
mhm.
as you mentioned, like I can only like drink this much before I pass out.
Yeah.
So like I never really understood that whole culture of,
Mhm.
alcohol. And but in this particular case of Drops of God, like even without having any background knowledge on wine,
Mhm.
they'll break it down for you within
Yeah.
the context of story to the point that I can understand
Mhm.
without
Mhm.
even drinking the particular wine. What makes it more even interesting is that every wine that they talk about in this series is like actually exist in real
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So the 12 ultimate wine or the 12 apostles are chosen from all the wine that actually exists in the world.
Mhm. Mhm.
This means that the artist actually drank them all.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's just great. Like Tadashi Age, who is actually two people, like I believe a sibling creative writing duo, Shin and Yuko Kiwayashi sensei. Um like they're just like really big fans of wine. And
Winers.
yeah. And so like being able to sort of distill all their knowledge into something like this manga that like is, you know, although, you know, I mentioned that is like, you know, manga for wine aficionados, but the thing is like you don't even need to know everything about wine, because this sort of story takes you through what are some things you need to know for the story, as well as what are some things that make up, you know, winemaking, what are some things that make up like beer making,
Mm-hmm.
and explains it to you in a way that feels natural. It's not just exposition that's being dumped on you. It's important to the people who are experiencing it.
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely.
yeah, so you get an investment in terms of like, you know, I wasn't into wine, but this seemed important for the scene. And now I'm kind of interested in, you know, how these people react to finding it or tasting it or, you know, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like some of the magic of manga, they make you care about something that you may not have even thought that you would care about. Um,
I actually really like, the wine trips.
mm, mm,
Some of
mm.
the scenes that shows up in the Drops of God is the scenes that the characters, when they drink the wine, they have
Yeah,
these like crazy
yeah,
imageries,
flashes and
right?
yeah.
And then um so like that's a really sensational way of
Mhm.
describing what it feels like to
Yeah.
drink and enjoy the taste of it. And when we did an interview with the creator, the story writers
Mhm.
of this series, the two siblings, they actually talked about how they actually went through these like wine trips. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
they
yeah,
were
yeah,
like,
yeah.
to them this was like actually quite a real experience
Yeah.
um to have. And then actually they both, these two people had a similar experience, which actually made them confirm that this is actually like a real experience. And wouldn't
Mhm.
it be really cool to be able to, convey these kind of experience in a storytelling? And so that's kind of how they started this series. There's a whole lot more discussion that is in this interview with Shin and Yuko Kiwayashi on our YouTube.
Mhm.
Also, but it's really amazing to like kind of go into the mind of the person who came up with this like
Yeah.
wild story. They are often very much very enthusiastic people as well when it comes to wine, and they bond so well. These two siblings, they're
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
along so much over wine, and it's actually quite sweet to have that kind of connection with each other, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. They're also very fashionable people.
Yeah,
I
for
I was
sure.
very impressed.
They're like the Beatles of manga or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
For real though, they have that the attitude, OG attitude.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But yeah, you're totally right. It's like where like some of these like sort of wine trips that happen, like they're really beautiful. Like there's one where I mentioned that the heir isn't going to get isn't just given the fortune. He actually has to square off against an adopted son or adopted heir who is this other like you know uh,
That is
somewhat famous wine critic, and
that
so
is just asking for trouble.
yeah, yeah, and I love how it sets up that shonen rivalry
Dun
sort
dun
of debate, dun dun
dun.
dun.
Isn't this
But
how Pokemon starts
yeah,
too?
yeah. And so like there's a time where the rival drinks one of the wines and he suddenly finds himself in a field of flowers.
Wow,
Like that's his experience, is that like the bouquet of it, like it just becomes so intense. It's a very floral
the
uh
fragrance,
feeling. Yeah, and suddenly he's like no longer in this like hall tasting this wine. He's just like in an open field and so like that.
like
And he's
transported.
hmm and I think that there's all sorts of moments and times where we might have felt that transportation, but to see it like translate into these kinds of stories and these like manga, I think that's what makes that sort of like storytelling and style like very, very cool.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And I also, since you just mentioned that the whole complete series is now available
Hmm.
for the Drops of God,
Yeah,
I just got to go back and read the whole thing again.
yeah,
And I definitely want to know the conclusion to finally finding out
fine.
what is the Drops of
Yeah,
God.
which one is the drops of God? Yeah, we got to know. Uh, Also, if you're interested in trying one of the 12 apostles, I hope you have a pretty big piggy bank because they are very
Are
expensive.
they fancy?
They're
Oh,
well, like I don't think that they're like all fancy,
yeah.
but a lot of them are, and a lot of them are expensive. And I think like there's a recent interview because when we released the final volumes, they asked our president and CEO, Alvin Liu, like which that he had tried.
He's a
He said like,
whiner too.
yeah, he loves the wines. What's it called? He mentioned it's like, well, these, the 12 apostles are a little bit out of my price range, but there are some wines that they mention in the series that are more affordable and are very good. So it's not just that like, all the apostles are going to be like
Super
not
off
able to
the
try it. Yeah,
roof price.
exactly. So there's definitely some wines and spirits in that series that you can drink and try and then confirm for yourself whether or not you get a wine trip or transported to a different place when you consume them.
That's a little bit of relief to hear.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess the final one that we're gonna sort of dig in on is Shaman
Ooh,
King.
Shaman King.
Yeah.
Oh man, this
Uh,
series takes me back.
yeah, very much a classic in the shonen manga. It's about a kid who has the ability to see spirits, interact with them, and then actually get to fight with them, and then meets other challengers to the Shaman King throne, which is like a tournament where people find out who's going to be the leader of them, of those shamans.
All the
But
shamans in the world.
all the shamans in the world. But yeah, no, a very exciting story, and like does have a lot of the traditional shonen tropes. Battles are super cool, and obviously you get like the fun sidekick.
I love
Um,
him. Oh
yeah,
my god. He's this character Manta, his character design reminds me of like the classic Tezuka
yeah,
style.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It
but
does.
the style continued to evolve from there to the point now it's very distinctive, sleek style like that
Mhm.
you saw on the cover.
Yeah, like even pages like this like are absolutely stunning in terms of like their design. Like the strong shadowed tree and the main character in the sort of background, like framed by like the starry sky and all
Sky.
these like tombstones around him, and then like you see him in the middle, and like this is how we're introduced to this character being surrounded by the dead, basically.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
He's so relaxed too.
but he's so relaxed. Yeah, that's the thing.
He's a relaxed kind of
He's a
guy.
very
Uh,
chill dude. Yeah.
I love it.
Um, but yeah, no, this again is a story that we wanted to bring back because it is great for so many reasons, and now to be able to bring it back in time for the anime that's going
Oh,
to be
the
coming
new
to
one.
Netflix. Yeah, this is like now is like never been a better time to check out the Shaman King original manga. Because yeah, it's all there for free if you got Amazon Prime, Kindle Unlimited, or comiXology Unlimited, and so you could just tear through. I'm trying to think of like this is the one where I'm a little fuzzy in terms of the number of volumes. I think it was 34.
Oh gosh, let
Can't
me see real
remember.
quick.
Yeah,
Um, let's see. Because
the Google
I'm just looking
machine.
at all the covers. He redrew them all too, huh?
Yeah, no, that was like one of the coolest things about this re-release. Like on top of the fact that this series basically wasn't available like in print for like over like about a decade or so. Um,
Okay,
the
according.
creator,
Oh,
uh,
sorry.
oh no, it's okay. The creator Takei they decided like I'm gonna redraw all of these covers, and they're beautiful. They're stunning.
His
Uh,
art style changed.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So pointy and
Mm-hmm,
sleek looking.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So I'm looking at comiXology. According to comiXology,
mm-hmm.
there are totals of 35 volumes.
35 volumes.
So,
There you
but
go.
original run has ended around 32. I
Right,
remember.
right, 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 right.
So the extra volumes that we see on here is the story that was the goes towards the intended ending to this overall story. So
Yeah, the
this is the
true
first time.
ending.
Yeah, the true
Yeah.
ending.
Uh,
It's been in discussion for a long time, so I'm actually very excited to see
yeah,
that on there.
yeah. We
Um,
finally released the Takei cut.
yes, the final creators cut,
Yeah,
right?
creator's
Yeah,
cut. Yeah,
for sure. Also, actually, speaking of, this series has a bunch of spin-off series too.
that's true.
Takei Sensei's his current work is called Shaman King Superstar,
Mhm.
which is official sequel of the main series. There are prequels called Shaman King Zero, spin-offs about a certain character focus. There's a one called Marco. That
Marco.
sounds awfully like Naruto. And it might possibly be an homage to a popular TV series.
No.
But yeah, I love that kind of pop culture crossover that you
Mhm.
actually often see in this series, Shaman King. Like
Yeah.
a lot of it is like possibly American comic reference,
Mhm. Mhm.
sometimes like a movie. Like if you really keep your eyes open when you reread this series, like you would see some of those pop culture reference on there more than you
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. So, what's it called? So at this point, we come into the end of like the focus that we got. Like I hope that folks at home have gotten a better sense of the comiXology originals line of manga that we have out. There's obviously the ones that we didn't talk about. They're still currently up on comiXology for you to check out. And if you got Prime, if you got Kindle Unlimited, if you got comiXology Unlimited, you don't even have to pay additional costs to read them.
It's such a
Um,
good deal.
so yeah, if you're curious about manga and stepped into this panel just to learn a little bit about manga, any of these series are like amazing entries into the medium because like they run a gamut of themes, styles, artwork, focuses that again like all have like a strong emotional core that make you immediately invested in what's going on, even if you don't know much about drift racing or wine or shamanism.
I'm interested.
Yeah,
I'm curious for sure.
yeah,
Oh man,
yeah,
this is all really incredibly good manga. So to those people who has never read them, you're in it for a treat. Like please like enjoy your read the first time around Shaman King. That's gotta be like
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
So lucky you.
Lucky you. Well, yeah. So, what's it called? Thank you very much,
Ah,
everybody who stuck around
ありがとうござい
to the
ます。
end. Arigatou gozaimasu. But yeah, I have been Ivan and Misaki,
美咲
and thank you for joining us on this Comic Con at Home panel. And we hope you have a great rest of your weekend because I believe that's when Comic Con's happening.
dude enjoy